This is what's gonna go on the. There we go. All right, now we're recording. Oh baby,
Yeah.
let's go.
So,
We are live now and recording
yeah.
with some fantastic guests. Nick, I will let you do the introductions because you're a stud at this. But everybody who's listening, and if you are on your car drive home or whatever, welcome to Ponytails Podcast, hosted by Nick Taverdi and Andres Gamboa. We're just trying to talk to Southwestern alumni. So here we are. Nick, who are we talking to today?
We're talking to the beautiful and wonderful ladies of the Dynasty organization, Renee Dodson and Sydney Anne. Welcome, welcome. Yes, some top producing book chicks that are just awesome, good-hearted people. They were once roommates on Sydney Anne's first summer, and they've got some cool stories to share. We're excited to learn about how they got into the book business and all the cool things that happened because of that. Sydney Anne is in real estate, and Renee, you've been in tech a little bit yourself.
Yep.
So what exactly are you doing right now, real quick?
I'm in software sales now.
That's
Yep.
awesome. So we'll talk about all this stuff later, and as this podcast progresses. But yeah, we're excited because we're building steam as a podcast, getting people following and joining the live broadcast, and we're excited to get some engagement in the comments. If you are listening to this live, feel free to ask questions that you're just dying to know from Sydney Anne and Renee. And yeah, let's have some fun here. So we're recording and we're going to upload this on to Spotify and Apple Podcast. So for those that are listening on YouTube, where we also upload later, be sure to also check us out on the apps that you can kind of put on in the background. I know that YouTube's a little hard to watch these things, and you can't turn your phone off because it stops the whole thing. And we want you to know that you can actually do that with Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We'll be sharing links to those under each of these broadcasts on Facebook, on our Facebook page. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Let's get it.
yeah, we're here on episode 22, so let's get it started. Renee and Sydney Anne, let's talk about this whole crazy experience that we know each other from. Let's start with Renee because she did have her first summer before Sydney Anne. How did you get into this crazy thing called selling books door to door? Why did you say yes? Tell us the story of who you met, who you were at that age, and how it changed your life. However you want to take it off from here.
Yeah, no, thank you, Nick. Super excited to be here, guys. I appreciate it. I thinking back, I guess that's what, 6-ish year, no, almost 7 years ago now.
It goes quick. It goes fast.
It's crazy, yeah. So I went to Georgia Tech and, went there to study actually more the political science, international affairs, which is not what Georgia Tech's known for, but that's what I was going for. Was not interested in sales, never thought that that would be something that I would end up doing. And so my freshman year, I get a call, I guess it was November 2014, and get a call from Brandon Abernathy, who I'm sure many who are listening to this have heard of or know. Absolutely crushed it with selling books. Great guy. Studied chemical engineering at Georgia Tech. Anyway, just get a call. I didn't have an internship lined up for the summer. And, he talks about, hey, I got your name from a girl in your dorm. So got to build that rapport, would love to share with you about an internship this summer. And I was like, oh my gosh, someone's already recruiting me for an internship. This is amazing. So, he tells me about an info session. I show up to it. Definitely not what I expected it to be, but I was really, I think intrigued by everything that he talked about personal development and growth and how sales plays into every kind of facet of life. And regardless of what career you go into, that it's something that can benefit you. And ended up going through the process. I knew my parents were not going to be supportive initially because it's crazy sounding and different and unconventional. But I just knew I was going to do it. I was like, I think this is going to kind of launch my internship career in college, and this will just really lay the foundation. Still didn't think I was going to go into sales, but I was like, this will be good. I need to get this experience, and I want to be around people like this.
Yeah, you like a good challenge, right? And
yeah.
You obviously went on and had a successful first summer. You were number 2 in the entire company, right behind Jake Flores by no more than a math set, right? And a log on or something like that. Right. Sorry.
Should have tacked on better.
But you stuck around for, was it 3 summers or just 2, or how many did you sell?
Yeah, I sold 2 summers.
Gotcha.
And that has kind of shaped my career and my just trajectory of life and everything because of this experience. So that's a little bit of how I got into it, and was not expecting it, didn't plan on it, just kind of fell into my lap, and it was amazing.
Yeah. And just a quick follow-up on that first summer, where did you sell?
I sold out of Michigan. So I started south of Detroit and then moved north of Detroit to an area called White Lake. Absolutely beautiful. Michigan in the summer, gorgeous place.
Really? I've never been, but I need to go. Okay, cool.
I had never been either. I was like, what is in Michigan? But okay, there's a lot of great things.
But it's a home away from home now, isn't it? Yeah.
So then let's hear about Sydney Anne's first summer and how you got recruited, and then where Renee comes into the story on your end.
Absolutely. So I was a senior at the University of Alabama, and I heard about it in a management class. Gabe Peacock came and spoke about it, and all I remember him saying was, "Hey, this is a really hard thing that people do." Like, that's really all I remember.
Wait, who did you say it was?
Gabe Peacock.
Oh, Gabe. All right. Yeah, he's a surprisingly actual sweetheart.
Yeah. And Amber Leatham as well. They were recruiting at Georgia. Would come to Alabama on weekends because we're a better party school, probably. So I put my name on the sheet like everybody else does, and I get a phone call like 2 days later that was like, "Hey, Sydney and Duh." And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "I'm Gabe Peacock. Both of our last names are birds. That's super weird." Anyway.
That's awesome.
I don't think I'll ever forget that.
Rapport, baby, rapport.
Immediate.
Find a connection right away.
Oh, yeah.
So went to an info session and did an interview. I remember being in a full suit for my interview. I thought it was like this huge thing. I was like, I really got to put something on my resume because I did go to a party school and took advantage of that. He called, like, I told my parents about it. Of course, we leave super jazzed up, and my parents were like, absolutely not. Don't touch that with a 10-foot pole. And I said, okay, well, my manager wants to talk to you about it. And they were like, whatever. And Gabe calls them, and I get a call back 5 minutes later, and they were like, this is such a great opportunity.
Yep.
He probably goes, Mr. Dove? Yeah? Gabe Peacock. Both their last names are birds.
My dad was probably like, who the heck are you? So actually, funny story about that. It was about 3 weeks before the summer that I got recruited. I had no idea what was going on. Similar to Matt Atchison saying that he went to that meeting where just a bunch of kids were gathering that was supposed to be coffee with the parents. I had no idea what was going on. But I remember right after I got recruited, I got a phone call one morning from Gabe saying, I'm so sorry. I've actually gotten kicked off of campus for parking in like a parking zone or something like that. And I had no idea. It was so green not to think like, hey, that's probably pretty sketchy. I was such a fire that I was like, no, that's normal. Like,
yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah. So sold my first summer in Virginia with Renee in Stafford. Okay. That's when we became roommates. We got paired up in sales school and met my boyfriend that I currently live with in sales school that summer as well. So
no way.
Well, hey,
so,
I set them up.
Oh,
I think we set ourselves up. You set me up. I'll give you credit.
We gotta give you some love on that too, because you were pretty solid first summer there. You had a number 8 first year, that first summer, and then you were the number 1 person from Dynasty that summer.
Yes.
And Renee,
PC second summer, you're stud. Nice job.
And Renee, of course, was leading by example, being the number 1 second year in the company. So that was a power HQ if I've ever seen one.
Different. I didn't know what off schedule was. Renee would come home and be like, I'm not on the pace setter. What the heck? So I just thought it was the standard. I give Renee a lot of credit for that.
That's wild.
So
isn't it?
So lucky.
Isn't that interesting how like the expectation set is just kind of what ends up like that's just a lesson right there in itself, right? Renee was just expecting excellence, and so in your mind, you're like, oh, the normal thing is to just kick ass at this. You didn't know any different. Like I didn't know what off schedule was until my second summer. I was like, oh, people do that? Like,
well, same with my first summer.
At 400 units, and I was like, so I have to hit at least 400 units a week. Okay, got it. Let's do this.
Yeah. Wow.
And Sydney, and you had a second summer yourself. Was there a third, or
just
how did that go?
Summer. I sold over Renee's territory from her first summer.
No way.
One of her clients, or not one of her clients, sorry, real estate customers, her second summer was my HQ.
No
Oh, cool.
way. So it's all Renee's fault that you had a great experience. Jeez, thanks for
leaving good impressions everywhere you went. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
That's
awesome. Let's talk about this whole second summer in Virginia thing. Let's unpack did you have to go finding your host family that summer, or was it pre-set up before you got there, which is like the golden opportunity of selling books? But how did it unfold?
Renee?
Yeah. So my first summer, everything was kind of laid out. So going to my second summer, Gabe was the OL, I was the AOL. And I did not know what searching for a host family looked like, but he was like, all right, we're going to go do this. So we just were knocking on doors. We were going to churches. We were doing the whole deal. We found this very nice couple at a church, and they offered to host Sydney Anne and I. And that was our first host family. And they were very interesting people, very, very kind, loving people, but just, it was a lot. And we ended up moving. I don't know how much we can share here, but we ended up transitioning halfway through the summer to Gabe's host house, who are still friends of ours to this day. Like, I've gone and visited them since. Andrea and Alan Payne, absolute amazing people. But I mean, Sydney Anne, I want you to share your perception, because I feel like I don't know.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. Now, keep in mind, I was very blind to what was going on and what anything looked like. So
you're just whatever.
Yeah.
One day we broke the bed. I don't know how, but I think we got up and ran. I don't know if
we literally just sat up and the bed broke.
Fell through. Yeah.
Wow.
And all I remember was the next day, Renee was like, so we're not going to live here anymore. It's no big deal. We're going to go live in the guys. And I was like,
midsummer, just we're homeless.
Yeah. I was like, sounds legit. I'm in.
Nice.
That's hilarious. What did you guys find that was you said the expectation was pretty, set there, by Renee, but in general, what did you guys find that was helpful in your success that first summer, Sydney? And we're because that doesn't always happen, some people do really well their first summer and then go their second summer, and that HQ isn't necessarily or automatically just great. There had to have been some stuff you guys did that really just worked really well for you guys.
For our HQ, or my first summer?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, so one quick thing, Renee was set up with a bomb HQ her first summer that I think she took a lot away from. Yeah. Renee, who was in your HQ?
Yeah, it was a lot of rock star managers. So Mallory Porter, now Mallory Abernathy.
Yeah.
Let's see who else. Audrey Owens.
Ooh.
And Anna Dunn and Ann Meadows, now Ann Dahl, had breakfast with us. So it was me and all of them.
Fun.
So you
wow.
get the gist. Yeah.
Group of studs. Yeah.
Did they not live with first years, or what was the story there?
No, we did have one other first year there with us for a couple weeks, and then that didn't pan out. She ended up leaving the book field, and so it was just me with a bunch of multiple year book girls who were so diligent, so on schedule, had great attitudes, would help each other, coach each other through everything. And so starting my first summer in that kind of environment, it was kind of going to be a natural way to lead the next summer, just because of that example.
And just following through.
If Renee ever felt sad, she was a really good manager of not puking down, which is something I've taken into my career now on having apprentices and things like that. Renee she was telling me before this call about her commutes to work every morning, and I would have had no idea.
Well, and for anybody listening that doesn't understand the book lingo for what they mean puke down, that's generally means share any sort of negative things going on to people who are not at the same year of sales as you. So managers to first years don't puke down, they always puke up is the for anybody out there listening that isn't. Like
Judy, we've got Sydney Anne, I believe that's your mother, is that right?
Feel free to share whatever. That woman knows everything.
Cool. Yeah. She loves our backdrops, by the way.
She may share too much, so.
Hi, Judy.
Hey, Mama.
Just be aware, right?
That's awesome. We got a fan. That's so cool. So then, okay, so let's change gears here for a sec. Because I know you guys are really successful now. Like, but what are you guys up to now? Let's talk a little bit about what was life after Southwestern, and if you can, a couple of the things from Southwestern that you took with you that are helping you be successful now with what you're doing. Let's go with Sydney Anne first.
Judy didn't know about the puke, by the way. She appreciates knowing.
Okay, good. Okay. When we get listeners that aren't Southwestern people, we got to explain.
My mom's my hype woman. So I moved in with Renee after my second summer. I was going to full-time recruit, like we all are told we're going to do.
Yeah, right.
With Renee in Atlanta, it was just different because I was looking for jobs. I had a couple of offers in Atlanta. I interviewed with all of the companies, but my goal was to go into real estate. That's what my family's in. But I wanted to do something different. Always wanted to live in Texas. So I got the opportunity to work with Southwestern Real Estate as an apprentice to Mark Fuller here in Houston, who was my broker, mentor, and now close friend. And I took that immediately after 6 months and moved here to Houston. And it's been really incredible. It was a really, really tough apprenticeship for anyone who's interested to talk to me about real estate. I've now picked up my business a lot more. I had a really tough go for my first 2 years. And then so we have an award called the Excellence Award that it's a really big deal in our company. It's based on your growth from your previous year. At a certain point, you have to hit a certain number and then grow over that number. And I competed with Grant Greeter all in 2020, which was Matt Atchison's manager. So looking back, that's crazy to me because he's like,
our manager
all summer. And Grant was in Nebraska and he was killing it, and he still did kill it all year long, but I was going to be the underdog. And it was one of those things Bill Zizzy says, like, if you are 100% committed to a goal, the achievement of that goal is assured. And I just knew that. And I hit Excellence Award this past January and grew my business and broke the record. So I'm real estate. It's interesting to brag about yourself, but talking about real estate, I'm having a great time in Houston.
It's the Dove Club. It's the Dove Club.
I don't think it's bragging about yourself. I think it's just acknowledging your effort and your work.
Did you grow by 550%, Sydney Anne?
I did 550%.
That's wild.
And I still thought I was going to lose to Grant.
Hey, Grant's probably upset, and we'll put the fire under his butt. Andres is in Lincoln there with him, so
yeah, he's competitive for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. Well, first of all, congratulations. That's an achievement, man. That's not something to. I don't think it's bragging at all. I think it's acknowledging your effort, and it was completely worth it. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, good for you. Oh yes.
Yeah.
So then what from Southwestern was like the thing that was the most helpful, do you think, for that success?
That actually, so what I was just, so my second summer I hit President's Club because I saw Vivi hit President's Club. She was in a completely different org, but I remember thinking, okay, this is something that's possible. I wasn't having like a crazy summer, but I had President's Club on my steering wheel and I listened to Bill Zizzy's, if completely committed to a
that
goal,
whole thing,
it's not assured. And I thought, that takes a lot of pressure off. If you are fully committed to something and you're doing all the work, I mean, the worst that happens is you don't get it, but you know deep down that you did everything that you could.
Yeah.
So, I had like 400 units going into Saturday, and I talked to Amber Lee about it, and she was like, it's totally possible. I think my previous best day ever was like maybe 120 units, and I ended up hitting President's Club on the last deal Saturday night. So I was very committed to that phrase. I knew if you were committed, it would happen. And I just kept telling myself that all year long. So it's really up to my belief barrier.
Oh, I'm going to use that for the rest of this week.
Nice.
Like, yeah. All right. So Renee, let's hear about you. What did you do? What are you doing now? And how did your experience with Southwestern really just help you with what you're up to?
Yeah. So after the second summer at Southwestern, I started to realize, okay, the sales thing, I like it. I am good at it. It's fun. I like getting paid based off of how hard I work. I think that's a phrase that I still use a lot today. Even when I'm helping recruit for my current role, I look for that in people if they're excited to get paid based off of how hard they work. So that's something that, it just stuck out to me. I was like, okay, I want to go into sales. I decided I didn't want to necessarily pursue a career with Southwestern specifically, but I was at Georgia Tech. They have a great, obviously a tech program, IT program. And I was like, what is interesting to me is software, the tech world. And, there's a lot of not only job security, but it's just, there's always a need and always growth in technology. So I actually changed my major third year of college right after my second summer to business with a focus in IT, and then started doing some internships in the SDR BDR space for some different software startups, and was like, wow, I love this. It's so fun. I'm learning, I'm being challenged. And now I work at Salesforce. Technically I work for MuleSoft, which is a company that Salesforce acquired. It's an integration and API management software. And it's great. It reminds me, I think Southwestern set the bar for, I guess, company culture for me, because when I was interviewing, I was looking for people who were book people, but had never sold books. And what stuck out, that's what stuck out to me about MuleSoft and Salesforce, is that there's a lot of people who, they're good humans. They're hardworking, they're ambitious, they have integrity. They, they're always looking to grow themselves. I'm never the smartest person in the room. And yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I love it. I kind of wove in some of the things I learned from Southwestern, but
yeah,
I'm trying to think specifically, because now I'm in an inside sales role. I'm looking to go into sales management. Hopefully at some point I'd like to get into an account executive role, and customer facing sales role. But I think the positive self-talk is the biggest thing, because in Southwestern, we didn't have a quota. The goal was to sell as much as possible, but there's no one saying, if you don't hit this quota, you're in trouble. And so I think that's where the positive self-talk came in. And it took a couple months to kind of remember all of that stuff I had learned from Southwestern, because I was almost 3 years out at that point. But that's been a game changer for me, and it's really helped me succeed, where I am today.
That's powerful. It's always interesting when you like talk to alumni of Southwestern and you ask them this question, like, hey, what is the biggest thing that you take? And it's never just it's never like how to close or like establishing rapport. It's always like the things that were more like personal development, right? Like for you, Sydney Anne, you're like thinking of commitment and committing to a goal, and just assuring that because of this unconditional commitment to a goal that you're going to hit it. Which is, that's, you could use that in your marriage. You could use that if you become a mother, you can use that in anything, right? That's amazing. But you don't, it doesn't matter if you know how to close someone if you're a mom, right? But committing to being a good mom, that's, and Renee with the self-talk, same thing. It's like, nobody ever really talks about the money or the travel, although all of those things are awesome. It's always like, like for Matt Etchison said, using a gold card. Right, this guy makes millions of dollars. Like he's over his career, he's helped people, his businesses make millions of dollars, and he goes a gold card. Right, like how, and people overlook those little things, and I feel like that's cool that you guys are using those like basic things that most people probably don't do. So pretty cool.
I think what Renee said about you get paid for the exact work that you do, because that relates a lot in my business today. There are a lot of that you go by and you don't see a deal come through, and you want to get down on yourself, but it's one of those things, you always get paid for the work that you do. It's just a matter of when. You can keep reminding yourself that, and it helps with any rejection in sales.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty cool. That's a sweet perspective. So, all right. So question for you guys. What caused you to, like, was there anything that like caused you to leave Southwestern? Like, was it like an abrupt, or were you guys happy with the way you guys left Southwestern in general? I mean, most people are pretty okay and pretty happy with how they left, but
some people aren't.
Who do we want to go first?
Renee, you can go. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so I definitely have a interesting story there, but it's something I feel like I've come to terms with, because at the time I look back, so I didn't talk about this earlier, but who I was going into Southwestern was very different. A very different person than who I became while I was in Southwestern, and very different from who I am now. When I started college, I came from a very, very conservative home, very conservative Christian, conservative politically background. Nothing wrong with that at all, but just very, very strict. And honestly, I think I took it to an extreme. I was a bit judgmental. And, to give an example, my freshman year of college, I didn't drink. While a lot of the kids are out there like partying, going crazy, I was like, I don't do that. And I kind of was judgy of those people. And then I got into Southwestern, had a great first summer. And then we get to checkout, and then you go to Sizzler, and then you start getting around people who not only work very hard, but they play very hard. And that is something I love. I think looking back, love and hate about Southwestern, because it is that work hard, play hard culture. And I took it to an extreme. So I did work hard, but I kind of jumped off the deep end when it came to like the partying and like all of that stuff. On the off days, not obviously on the
Sure.
book field, but
Although we did have
um,
stories of somebody sharing that people were like partying at a park, like half the org was
I've
partying
heard
at a
of
park.
that. I never did that on the book field, I can honestly say, but
Check
no,
out the
like
Meredith Gardner episode.
okay, I'll do that. Yeah, and I mean, I think so. Yeah, off the book field, my life was not put together. You know, I was not on schedule. I was not taking all of these factors of success that Southwestern teaches and encourages you to have into my own life. I was just implementing it in the book field. And then, okay, cool. We go after my go into second summer, have a great second summer. Go into that fall, I start dating someone from Georgia Tech. And still my life was kind of all over the place. My grades weren't great. I was honestly going out probably too much. I was, you know, it's kind of, I think sometimes there's this thing where if you're successful in the summer, it's like, ooh, I've deserved to be kind of a
Break,
piece
yeah.
of shit after the summer.
Yeah.
And I see it a lot. I don't, and not everyone
Yeah.
does this. I have plenty of mentors who didn't do that, and that's great. But I did. And it's also because I was still I just had never been exposed to a lot of that stuff. And I was still learning it. I was learning it a little bit later. Things like how to handle your alcohol, stuff like that. It's fine. And I went to my second Sizzler, and I honestly, you know, I won't go into crazy details, but I made some not great decisions. And, you know, it's a party environment for a whole week, and you have a choice to go in and make a lot of great memories, or, you know, sometimes people leave that and they
The memories, right?
or they don't have any memories because
Yeah.
they blacked out the entire time, you know.
Those Sizzler MVPs are out there.
Right. And, you know, I don't think that that is Southwestern's fault, but at the time when I left that Sizzler, basically made some decisions where it required, like, I basically needed to go talk to my boyfriend. We broke up. It was this whole thing. And I blamed Southwestern for that because I was like, oh, I never was exposed to partying up until Southwestern. You know, you guys exposed me to this instead of taking responsibility for my own choices. And so I decided, okay, it's Southwestern's fault that my life is kind of not put together outside of the book field. And so I need to quit Southwestern. I need to move home, get out of my sorority. I did. I moved home for that entire spring semester, 2017, commuted to school, stopped partying, didn't drink for 5 months. Because the thing is I know I'm someone who has strong values and morals, and the way I was living did not align with that at all. And that, you know, at the time that was like, okay, this is not good at all. And, you know, I was supposed to come back for a third summer. I ended up deciding not to because I felt like at the time that I was not being a 12-month success. You know, we talk about that at Southwestern a lot. You want to be a 12-month successful person, not a 3-month success, not just successful in the summer. And I was just being a
hangovers, please, right?
We'll say it again.
Book field hangover. You know, it's that you work hard for 3 months and you're just like tired. So you just try to please yourself with all the alcohol and drugs and things that we know people do in great amounts. So yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think looking back at the time, I think I made the right decision for myself at that time. I wish I was a little bit more mature to think longer term, because I never did do full-time recruiting and I never got to get that experience. And I think I would have benefited from that. I think I would have benefited from a third summer. But at the time I was like, how can I go lead people if I can't even lead myself on a day-to-day basis? I know it's like, I know I can lead myself once I'm out on the book field, but that's not real life. That's 80 hours a week of super regimented living. Versus if I can't even do the right things, and which is not the point. Obviously, our leaders mess up and make mistakes, but at the time I kind of expected myself to be this perfect leader. And I use that as my reason for not coming back. So, you know, there was definitely some tension between myself and some of my leaders for a while, because they're like, they could see the benefit that I would receive from doing some more summers. I couldn't. But now we've made up. I've been able to have some successful internships. I've now kind of looked back and can accept that I made that decision and made my peace with it, and still know that I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't do Southwestern. Like Sydney Anne and I wouldn't be best friends. I wouldn't know either of you. So that's kind of how things turned out.
And that's you know, I can see that the journey of growth that you went through, just because now you're at a place where you're taking ownership for like the things that were on you. And that most people don't learn that lesson early on. I mean, I still am learning that lesson, right?
I
So
mean, me too.
yeah, but it's good to, yeah, there's it was it the environment, and there's you can find in Southwestern where it is pretty party hard. But that's not necessarily unique to Southwestern either, though. I mean, there's companies
Exactly.
out there who are like,
Exactly.
they're partying hard. It's like, whoa. So yeah, it's thanks for sharing. That's powerful though. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sydney Anne, how about you?
Sure.
How'd your end? How'd your side end?
If I could go back, one thing, so telling them that I was gonna full-time recruit and then not, I feel kind of bad about. I also feel bad about living in Atlanta and telling people I was going to work in Atlanta and like leading these companies on and then just piecing out to Texas. But overall, I had a great ending with Southwestern, and I think Virgie and I are still friends. And
Virgie's friends with everybody.
yeah,
That's awesome.
watching this, we're friends.
Visitor.
And so I mean, it went well for me because I met my boyfriend selling books, and now we live here in Houston. He worked for a company in Virginia, and we've moved down here, and I'm still in the company, and I'm really close with Pat Roach now, which is something that I really appreciate because I listen to his advanced sales a lot and really look up to and aspire to a really great leader. And it's done. I mean, everything in my life is because of Southwestern, my career, my boyfriend, my best friend, Renee, and where I live, everything revolves. And it's kind of crazy to these days because there are, times people push it too far, and books aren't the greatest for everyone. It's something that I'm realizing. And everybody has like what they should sell and how many summers they should sell. I'm learning depends on that person. It's when you're in books, it's like if you don't do a third summer, like you're crazy. Like you never sold books in the first place. And I'm learning now it's like 2 summers was perfect for me, so I'm in a really good place from it.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
So that's making Virgie happy, right?
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Signing that contract.
That's epic.
Andres is fully aware of how that works.
Yes. That's epic.
Thank you,
Cool.
Grant, for letting us know explicitly why you want us to work at a sister company.
Grant's a beast, though.
All the heart and love for Grant Greeter. It was his birthday.
He's killing it.
Say that again?
He's killing it, and he's loving it too. And he's doing really well because he's out there alone in Nebraska. So
yeah, my brother and his wife have bought a couple houses from him, so he's
yeah.
That's up. All right, so are we nearing the pony story time?
Not the pony story. I feel like we've got enough time for at least a number of them, right? So I mean, we've got 18 minutes left on the hour at least, and if you want to stick around a little past that, I know you are time sensitive, successful ladies trying to stay on schedule, right? But yeah, I'd like to hear any of your favorite customers, any of the craziest circumstances, stories that you two shared together. I'm not sure if I'm giving you a good lead into thinking of a good one, but whoever wants to take it away, who's first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go. Buckle up. Here we go. This is the moment. This is where
All right. I hope I tell these well because it's kind of crazy when you're alone. It's really hard to like tell stories about what happened when you're alone because there's no one to be like, oh, and then this happened. So here we go. So I had car issues like once every 2 weeks on the book field, not because I had a bad car, but because I'm a horrible driver.
Yeah, she's driving around a Benz on her first summer. I was like, okay.
you took a Benz as a book car to the book field.
Yes.
On my second summer, I took a
Were
back
you
on my
okay?
second summer, and that book cars.
Was it hard to cry in your Benz in the summer?
My parents actually sold my car the week I got back my second summer, and I'm currently driving the car they traded in it for. So yes, I took nice cars to the book field and wrecked
Wild.
it.
Oh
So,
no. Oh my God.
I should bring pictures. My favorite story is I got fully rejected. I was in the middle of the woods in Virginia on the dirt roads because I was not wanting to work, and I was like, I'll just drive until I find a house. And I walked up to this old man's house, and he just like obliterated me. I left in tears from his house, and I'm
Those like
back in his
rough.
driveway, and there's a ditch on the other side, right? And it's all dirt road. And my car backs over the ditch to where my wheels are in the ditch. My trunk is sitting on one side and my rest of my car is sitting on the other. And I'm like, I can't go anywhere. So I have to go back up to this guy's house and say,
No.
you hate me, I hate you. Can you please help me? And he's fuming mad, and he's just like, I gotta hit this darn girl who's trying to. I don't actually remember. I think I had to call a tow truck. So that was number one, car issue. Number two,
rough.
at my in the morning spot. What do we call it?
Breakfast spot.
Yeah,
Breakfast spot.
Yeah. I flushed my car key down the toilet.
You're what?
Flush your what?
I flushed my car key down the toilet.
I forgot.
And everybody was also already gone. So what's funny is that so I called a guy, right, to come like let me into my car. He locks his car keys in his car. So not only is my car key in the plumbing system of Chick-fil-A, car keys are stuck in his car.
Hold on, you guys are having breakfast at Chick-fil-A?
Every day.
Oh yeah,
I gained like 15 pounds. It was not good.
we gained so much weight.
Chick-fil-A
Dave
opened that
told me I
early?
looked fluffy one day. He's like, you should chill out on the biscuits. And I was like,
Oh
yo.
my God. You
was
never
true.
tell a girl that she looks fluffy.
Renee
Holy
ate eggs
shit.
and ketchup for breakfast every day.
After that, only eggs. Anyway.
Oh, that is actually one thing about South. So sorry to interrupt and go on a tangent here, but that is one thing about Southwestern that I'm like, the nutritional
It doesn't exist.
encouragement is lacking. Like they should really kind of help. That's a long time to go eating shit.
But you can do
Like,
anything for 3 months, so
yeah, but man, like it's July 20th, and it's 79 million degrees, and you're like try like soggy
turkey
butter and
sandwich.
jelly. It's just like, oh, and it's starting to smell bad. You're like, I better eat this now before it doesn't. Like, that's not good. You can't sustain it. That's bad. And I feel like if they focus a little bit more on nutrition, they would do better.
I would stress eat and eat both my lunch and dinner sandwiches.
Oh yeah, you would do that.
School period.
One more time.
Dude.
I would stress eat, and I would sit in my car and eat my PB&J and then my roast beef sandwich back to back in my first goal period.
Oh no.
First goal period.
Oh no. What did you eat the rest
It's
of the
like not
day?
even 9:30, bro.
I don't know, like
Just ask moms for food. Hey, you have a granola bar I can bum off? I'll buy it.
Oh my god.
Gosh.
yeah.
Does your mom know this? Is she hearing this for the first time?
She's hearing a lot of stuff for the first time. Yeah.
Sorry, Judy.
Wait, what'd you do with your car?
She's probably not shocked. So that day the guy locked his car keys. I had to run to the closest Nissan plant and actually tell them that my car was at the Chick-fil-A down the street. And I drove. This is wild. I picked up like some random Nissan person took me to my car at Chick-fil-A and towed it. Like last week of the summer, I actually ended up knocking on that guy's door and talking and sitting down with the guy who drove me to my car to the Nissan plant that day. But I had to run there. It was like a mile.
I didn't realize that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Just one sprint away. Yeah, car problems. Classic.
This episode is not sponsored by Chick-fil-A.
or anything, right?
It's not sponsored by anybody yet.
To donate to our podcast, right?
But it can be sponsored if somebody wants to do that. All right, Renee. So we got a couple of disappointing stories. You got some more coming?
Renee,
Me or Sydney Anne?
Either one of you. It was Sydney Anne.
I mean, we can trade off. I have a couple.
Yeah,
Let's trade off. Let's trade off.
I was thinking, so I'm going to share like a great customer story and then a crazy customer story. So great customer story. This was actually from my first summer, but I just always sticks in my mind because it was just such an impactful experience. So I was in Michigan. I forget which town. I think it was White Lake. I don't know. And I kept going to this, it was kind of Big Brick, which for those of you who don't know what Big Brick is, it's a nicer area that you work. Rich, they have money. And so I kept going to this one house, and I knew that they had like a son only because I had sold books to a family down the road, and they were like, oh, you should meet with our friends. Couldn't get them. They were never home. I one day see the mom out on the driveway, and I was like, oh my gosh, great. So I drive up, and then I park, and I kind of walk up the driveway. This woman is scared out of her mind. I have no idea why. I was just a girl in a polo walking up to her, grabs her son and their box of like whatever his toys and like runs into the garage, closes the garage door. And I'm like, wait, like, hi, my name's Renee. I'm telling you, it was just so awkward. And so
Gotta
I
love
was
those
like, I have
people.
to say it again.
Gotta love those super open-minded,
They're so
closed
warm.
garage
Yeah.
door people, you know?
And I was like, I'm gonna get them. She doesn't even know what I do. And so I kept knocking, no answer. I could tell they were there, whatever. And I was like, okay, maybe this is not gonna work out. It's one of my last days in this town. I go by, see the dad out by the mailbox. And I was like, oh, I haven't talked to the dad. So I drive up, not too aggressively, just introduce myself. And yeah, he was super cool. And he was like, oh my gosh, these look awesome. These books, this would be great for my son. He's like 4 years old. I can't wait to introduce you to my wife. And I was like,
Nice.
not sidebar. I don't think your wife likes me, but she doesn't know what I do. So she might be understandably concerned. And so I was like, just know that if you go inside right now and tell her about me, she might not be thrilled. And he was like, oh, just come in. We'll just introduce you that way. And I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
So we go in and I hear her, he walks in the other room to talk to her and she is yelling at him, like screaming, like she's pissed. She's so mad.
How awkward is that? Like,
I
just
know.
like-
And I'm just sitting on their couch and it is a nice house. And I don't know where the kid is. He was not around. And
you're just sitting in this
I'm
couch
just
in
like,
this big ass
oh
living
my
room,
gosh.
like,
and he's like, come on, because I already demoed the books to him. And so I was like, come on, like, please once she knows what I do, she will be about it. And he gets her out. She has her arms crossed. She's pissed. She does not want me there. And so I just kindly introduce myself, show her the kid set, just explain a little bit of my backstory. And like, you can tell she's kind of softening up. And then she was just like, I really have been looking for some extra educational tools for my son. And I'm like, and it was just like, boom, we know we had it. And then she started talking about her faith. And I'm Christian as well. We started talking about our faith. She prays over me. They buy the whole kids set. They say that they're in Michigan. They have a son in Atlanta and they're like, let's become friends on Facebook. Like we're going to meet up. And to be honest, we unfortunately did not do that, but like we have responded to each other's like stories and stuff over time and just became friends. And it was such an impactful experience. The fact that she went from get this person out of my house, let me pray over you and wish you the best and also invest in your business. Pretty cool.
She was an HBHer is what we call that in the Southwestern book world. HBHer.
Home but hiding.
Hiding. Judy's just like taking notes. Write that down. Write that down. That was good. Another inside joke there. Judy, that's what we always say to first years when they should write something down, even though we've heard it a million times. Write that down. That's really good. Just taking notes everywhere you go. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's epic.
So that was the positive customer story. Do we have time for me to share the good?
The mic is yours. You let us know what's
we have time. All right, we have time. Sydney Anne knows this one because this was my second summer and this was wild. I had never had anything. I never really had that many PR issues, which is what we, call news gets around about you in the neighborhood. Yeah. So we're in this one area of Virginia and I'm kind of in the country at this point and I'm just working a country road. It's not like a neighborhood. And I go up to this house. A guy named Jorge was following me. So Jorge, if you're watching this, very fun day. And we go up to this house and this lady has like basically a farm and like little petting zoo kind of thing. And she's super nice, kind of just super energetic, like wild, but not a bad thing. Just a lot of energy. Lets us in. We demo the books. Lets me hold a kitten. I'm taking photos with her kittens. Buys the entire set. So we're talking what, 12, 1300. I don't even remember how much it was. Like buys everything. Puts half down. Or no, I think she paid in full. Pays in full. I could only deliver some of it because I didn't have all of those books in the car with me at that time. So I was like, okay, I'll come back with the rest of the books. Super chill. And then the next day, Sydney, and you're gonna have to also help me on this one because I don't remember exactly how we found out. I think I was going to another house and someone was like, oh my gosh, you should see what's going on on Facebook.
Yeah, you said another mom brought it up to you.
That's right. So even if you're in those country areas, people still have town Facebook groups, right? And so she posted a picture of her door like half open on the Facebook group and said that I had been broken into her home and was trying to like assault her. No. And she just spent $1,200 something with me. And I was like, what?
This lady's
And
insane.
yes. And so it ends up like blowing up on the Facebook feed. I'm going around houses and people are super skeptical of me. Thankfully, I can talk them down. I tell them about, what I was actually doing, and, people are still buying. It's okay. But still, I don't want this stuff about me out there. And I'm like, what do I do? And then I knock on the door of a police officer actually. And he was like, oh, my kids go to school with her and she's nuts. She started a lot of problems in our school. And then turns out she was actually under investigation for like animal cruelty. And it was this whole thing. And then the police officer got the post taken down and it was fine and everything worked out. But it was just at the time when you're in it, you're halfway through the summer and you're easily seeing, oh my gosh, all my business is going to implode. People are going to not want me in this town, but you just work through it and it works out. But it was crazy. Crazy experience.
I heard that Sydney Anne, you broke your leg. I actually think that was that your first summer that you broke your leg?
Yeah, that's kind of a part of my pony story though. And I have two stories. I'll share one good and one bad as well. If that's okay. We got time?
Oh yeah.
Hey, they're not worried. Yeah.
Everybody says they want to be on here for an hour, and then an hour and a half, 2 hours later, they're like, that was fun. Looking at you, Matt Etchison.
I saw that it was like 1 hour and 48 minutes, and I was like, oh, I gotta prepare. So I'll start with the bad story. It's not bad. It's just like it's pretty crazy. So it was my first summer. It was really early on in the summer. Renee and I were still meeting with a really big group of people in our org. There were like 9 of us that would meet at the breakfast spot. And we started this little thing, you've probably done it or heard about it, where we would trade notes, like a note card to each other. And it would have something that you have to do at a house during the day. Could be like,
no, I did not hear about this.
Oh yeah.
Or it could be like, whatever. So I wrote one and it was like, do a ballerina jump while giving an approach. And he gave me one back. And so this was like day 4 or 5 of my first summer. And I decided I was going to quit. And I was done. I was fully done. And I pulled into a bank parking lot and I was like, all right, so am I just going to drive home? Like, what's the plan? I remembered that I had this one note from this one kid. So I was like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and I'm going to do this one more door for this kid. And then I'm going to head home. And so I open it and it says, do an approach barefoot. And so I knock on one more door and I'm like sobbing, crying. I think most of us have knocked on the door crying before, or maybe
or you're just like, wait, have you done the one where you start crying in the middle of the approach? You're like, hi, are you the mom? I'm Andre. So no one has
I've never done that. What?
What? Dude, you never cried in front of a mom, right? Like it just hits you. Is that what you're talking about? Like just. Oh, but sorry to interrupt, but yes, I'm with you.
I love doing stuff. A quick sidebar. One time I got approached by a bug guy, like a pest control guy, while I was knocking, and I pretended to be the mom and video recorded him.
No.
Gave him feedback. I just thought about that.
Okay,
so
hold on. Side tangent story. This is not a long story. Will Pickering knocked on a house where, as he was about to knock, the Kirby guy was leaving. So he was like, hey. And they're like, we just gave him $1,200, man. He should have been here half an hour ago. He couldn't sell. So we'll have to get Will to tell that story. Long version is funny. Anyway, sorry. Okay, so you're crying at the store. I can just see it in your head. You're like, just blah.
Like sobbing, right? So
it's
like,
been there.
I'm Sydney Anne, and I'm barefoot because I'm doing a barefoot approach because that's what his card said. He said, do an approach barefoot. And I'm like, this dude's like, are you homeless? What's going on? And he just gives me a big bear hug. And it actually worked out really well. It's funny, but he just like doesn't even say anything. He just hugs me. Turns out he's a preacher and his wife, they're like really big in the church and they pray over me. And we talk for like an hour about, he's like, what are you doing out here? Like, if you're selling books, don't you need shoes for that?
Oh, wow.
And selling for the rest of the summer, but that was like my one turnaround thing that I knew I needed to be there for. It was like my crazy story. Renee, Go ahead.
Well, we were talking with when I was talking to Chad Ailey about this, and like you kind of need those moments of just like really rough days. That's really what makes the difference, right? Like you needed to go through that to grow and to become like this, right? Because imagine it would have been an okay day. You wouldn't have had this memory. You wouldn't have learned that lesson. Like
Well, because
you
if I
need,
still would be with Southwestern, I was planning on going home.
yeah, like it's wild. Cool. Anyway,
Wow.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're
Crying
good.
in your bends. Crying in your bends, as these are my.
So helpless.
Driving around a $70,000 car selling $2,000 books.
Oh man.
My life sucks. I'm sorry. Oh my god.
Like, it's not for me.
This is terrible. I chose to do this to myself. Nobody's making me be here. Oh man. Sorry.
Yeah. So I decided to stay and feel bad for myself, and then I picked myself up and I kept going.
Hey, you kicked ass. Number 8's no joke. Anybody in the top 10's badass.
Ah, thanks.
Like for Andres and everybody else on here except me, but moving on.
Hey, you're top 10 in my heart,
Wait,
dude.
Nick, how many summers did you sell again?
4 summers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I got a year's worth of knocking under me, so it's
Yeah.
that's an achievement. So
Hold on,
Yeah.
before we go into this next story, Sydney Anne, I gotta just make sure I get these dates right. Renee, you sold your first summer was 2014,
2015.
2015. So your first summer, Sydney Anne, was 2016. Okay, that was my last summer. Not a good one. Not for me anyway. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's when we met, Andres.
Yeah, that's right. Because we met in NOLA at GRS2.
Yes.
Yeah, that was cool. Anyway, sorry. Okay, next story.
A game of cup pong that we created during sales school.
yeah, ball in a cup. Yeah.
Ball in a cup.
And we were just kind of like trying to like one up each other, and it was like needlessly hilarious. I have no idea why it was so fun,
I
but
think we were tired.
yeah,
But it was so fun.
Oh, it's
just
tired.
check out. Yeah, I remember that.
Actually-
Never forget.
Because I met you, Sydney Anne, like passing by. It was just like one of those, like we're at checkout or something. And I was like, "Hey, nice to meet you," because I was on my way out, and you were just during your first summer. Renee, I
So I
remember
probably
meeting
introduced you guys.
Mhm.
maybe.
Yeah,
Can I
probably.
take credit? Maybe.
You can take credit. Yeah. I met Nick. It's funny how we all met. Like the way you kind of remember these things, right? Like I'll never forget when I met Nick. We were just sitting outside waiting to go bowling. He's like, "Hi, I'm Nick." I'm like,
What's up?
"Goofy
Yeah,
dude."
that was a pre first summer get back, and I remember Andres was one of the biggest reasons why I did sell books, because he singled me out and told me how awesome I was. So
Oh,
Oh,
Sheds a tear.
dope.
look at y'all now making a podcast.
Making a podcast, and we're excited to hear about the second story. We've
Okay,
built it up.
All right. We've built up this.
This is the broke the leg one. Like someone said, "Hey, go break a leg," and you took it seriously.
Actually not, but it's involved, and it's not a long story. I promise.
Oh no, please make it. Give us the juice, not the
Renee,
sizzle. I
not
want the steak.
We're
I don't want the
good. We're
sizzle. I want
fine.
the steak.
This is like my pony story, like the story that you talk about where like you have to get. Okay, so it might not be as funny, but I'll tell y'all. It was the last day of my first summer, and I was feeling real confident, and I said, I sold like a Mufu set, which for anybody that's like the smallest thing you can sell. And I was like, it'd be really cool is if I sold one of everything today. And I guess it's another story of commitment. And so I sold an Explore and Learn in the second goal period, which is like the fourth biggest set, I guess. It's not very big. And then I also sold like a math set, and it was just like piece by family. I did like 6 deals. And I remember freaking out by like the second to last goal period and being like, oh, I don't know who to sell to. So flashback to earlier in the summer, I was running, like a good little book kid running from house to house. I remember saying to this guy, like, hey, I'll come back and see y'all on Tuesday. And then stepped in a pothole, bag went over my head, books scattered everywhere. Every parent in the neighborhood came out of their house. I swear to God, every dad was like, oh my God, that poor little weirdo that's been running around our neighborhood fell. And so
Bama girl.
yeah, and I remember they're all looking over me, and I remember being like, I'm so sorry, guys, Mr. Smith, I'll see you on Wednesday. I'll see you and your wife on Sunday. Like, I'm gonna be okay. And that's how I broke my leg. It was on crutches for 2 or 3 weeks of the summer, I think.
That's
So
wild.
flash forward lunchtime, I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta go knock on that door whose house I broke my leg in, because I'm always about making a good story.
Oh, yeah.
Knock, and they yelled me off the porch. They didn't remember me at all. So I'm like, okay. So it gets to the last goal period, and I've sold one of everything except for the college entrance books, the
Yeah.
CEA, which is like, I don't know how to explain that.
SAT ACT prep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
At least
It's like a
come
big deal.
for me.
Yeah,
It's
it's how you get into Harvard.
It's my favorite product.
It's how you get into Harvard.
Like it's a pretty harder thing to sell, because you have to only sell it to seniors and juniors. Flashback
Yeah.
again. One Sunday night, I'm at Applebee's. I'm picking up Renee's dinner, and I met this guy.
What's she having? What was it? 2 for $22? Did she order the chicken shrimp?
Yeah.
Should have. Bourbon
Yeah,
Street.
no $1 margaritas, because
No.
we're good with kids. But
I would agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong. The Bourbon Street chicken and shrimp is the best thing you can find at Applebee's. Moving on. So sorry.
So Renee's passed out in my car because it's been really like a long day. She's asleep in my car. I'm sitting at the bar with this dude that I met, drinking like a beer, waiting on food. And he tells me about his daughter, and I'm like, okay. And I just get him to write down his address just in case on my receipt. And I'm like, you know, if I'm in the area, like maybe I'll swing by. I don't know. I'm just trying to like get this guy to go away, but also trying to make a deal. So it gets down to, it's like 9:15, and I open my console and I pull out this dude's address, and I'm like, I know he has a daughter that age, but he's probably gonna have no idea, because that was like the first week. Anyways, so I drive out to his house. I knock. He opens the door, and he bought a CEA, and that was the last like door I sold one of everything that day.
That's
which was
incredible.
really fun.
Straight party.
Was the Applebee's guy.
Started out with a Mufu.
Yeah,
That's
all you have to do is
epic.
buy a beer first, and they'll buy everything, guys. Come on. That's what I learned.
That's really how you sell houses. Is really that's a trick. Get them drunk. All right. Everybody makes great decisions drunk.
When Renee's asleep in your car, yeah. So,
That's wild.
yeah, man.
That's wild. Renee, do you have like a one big pony story like that?
Yeah, I do. It's not really from the summers. It's more of like what I've taken away, but like what it's enabled me to do most recently in my job. It's really cool. It like gets me so excited, because I wouldn't be at MuleSoft, and I would not be like where I am in MuleSoft right now if it weren't for Southwestern. And what's really cool is that MuleSoft leadership and Salesforce leadership has started to see that and now knows Southwestern by name. It's really cool. So basically, when I started MuleSoft, it was July 2019, so a couple years out of books. And honestly, when you're out of the book culture, and with the way that I left, I kind of pushed some book people away. Not everybody, obviously, but like I just I didn't push you away.
I'm just joking.
No,
I'm just giving you shit.
but I definitely didn't make it my priority to stay in touch with everybody. And I was just kind of like, whatever, I want to just go focus on other things. When honestly, I need, if my goal was to be a 12-month success, I needed to keep practicing the principles that Southwestern teaches, because Southwestern isn't just about going and selling books. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. And I think that's like the core of it. And I kind of forgot some of that stuff and started MuleSoft. And I kind of think in the back of my head, I was like, oh, I got this job because I've done sales. I did well at selling books. Well is relative, of course, because I know you guys have had people on here who've sold like 12, 15,000 units, whatever. But I was like, okay, I know how to sell things. And then I get into MuleSoft. One, it's a real job. Southwestern's a real job, but it's like my real career for the first time. I'm no longer, no longer in college, and I have a quota, and I am competitive. And all of a sudden I'm surrounded by people who are honestly way better than me. And I was like, oh crap. Okay. And I found myself riding the emotional roller coaster like every single day for the first probably 3 months, maybe 2.5 months. And I mean, like crying on the way to work, very book field reminiscent of my first summer, like just so stressed, putting so much pressure on myself, not coaching myself, not focusing on the controllables. And I think Sydney Anne, you were one of, I should not think, I know that Sydney Anne was one of the people I called 2 months in, and I was like, I'm so stressed. I'm not going to hit quota. Like, I'm going to be a failure. Just like puking essentially. And she was like, dude, you used to coach me on how to be positive. You used to coach me on how to have great self-talk. Like, where is that? And I was like, okay, cool. So then I actually went back. I had a Google Drive folder full of Southwestern resources that I hadn't touched in a couple years. And I went back through it. So we're talking The Common Denominator of Success by Albert Gray. We're talking like all those different articles, and like, I forget the names of all of them, but
What you will someday be, you are now becoming.
yeah, all of those things, all of
the black door metaphor. Like,
my
whoa.
awesome life list from Ralph Brigham, like all these things, and start going through this. And I was like, why am I not applying this in my new job? Like, I'm not going to be good at this job just because I did Southwestern. Like, I have to keep applying this stuff going forward, obviously, but it just for some reason took a little bit of time to hit home. And so I did start implementing that stuff, you know, focusing on maybe dividing my day into more of the goal periods, you know, for my job, focusing on the controllables, which I do a lot of outbound calling and emails and LinkedIn's, and those are like demos and calls and all those things that we can log and we can track and we can control. You know, I can't control who answers, I can't control who I book a meeting with, but if I know that I'm putting in the effort, like Sydney Anne said earlier, like the you'll get paid for that effort over time. And all of a sudden, you know, my first month I barely hit quota. Second month I hit 60% of my quota. I was freaking out. I was like, oh, I'm a failure. Second month or third month, sorry, hit 113%. And then after that started hitting and then overperforming, and you're getting promoted. And now I'm about to bridge out of my internal role. But the coolest part is not really about the promotions. It's February last year. I'm interested in moving internationally. And so I wanted to go network with the team in London that we have. So I flew over there last February. The VP of our role sits there. I got to meet with him and we start just talking. We have lunch, we're just chatting. And I start telling him about training and how I went from this super stressed, emotional, crazy person to more consistent and performing, and got to tell him about Southwestern and all of the principles that Southwestern taught me that I had to start re-implementing. And he was like, do we teach this kind of stuff in training? And I was like, not really. It's more of the coaching to the metric kind of stuff. We don't talk about the qualitative factors of success. And he was like, you should run a podcast on this for our whole team.
Oh yeah, podcast. Let's go.
I know. You should do a training session. And so I was really given the opportunity, not because it's my material, but because of Southwestern's material, that now I run a monthly podcast. And I think we're on episode like 15 now on enablement. And a lot of the topics and people I've brought in have to do with, of course, there's the tactical MuleSoft specific stuff, but there's always that piece about attitude and mindset and controllables. Like I brought in Ralph Brigham. He came and spoke for us. It was awesome. I run a training session because training is 3 weeks for our new hires at MuleSoft. And I have a 1 hour training session in that called The Common Denominator of Success. And I run through basically mindset and goals, mindset and why to have a why, or how to have a why, how to set goals, how to handle rejection, and then schedule is my lifeline. And it's just so cool to be able to take this stuff, and because people actually don't teach this outside of Southwestern. Like there's a ton of talented people that are hired into MuleSoft, and you know, some of them are of course successful without this stuff, but when I meet those successful people that never did Southwestern, they're doing those things. They have a strong why. They've set very tangible, measurable goals. They know how to coach themselves through rejection, and they are very, very heavily focused on their schedule. And so it's just cool to see that Southwestern impact is translating into this new life that I'm leading, and it's pretty cool. So yeah.
Dang, girl, good stuff. Proud of you. Proud of you. Good shit, man. Good shit. Heck yeah. Well, damn. Thank you guys for sharing that. Then we're true to our word. We'll keep it to a shorter hour this time around, which means we have a chance to have you guys back on sometime in the future for other ventures or something like that. More stories. Is that cool?
That's great. Thank you guys so much. This is so fun.
Yeah,
thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
It's good to go back, reflect on the most life-changing thing that pretty much anyone who's sold books has done. And it's like the hardest thing you'll ever do and never do again, but you're so great. Like I sit and just like love on my younger self for just saying yes to selling books.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
again and again and again, right?
Yep.
Well, on that note, well, a couple of things then. One, in this episode, you guys can catch on YouTube. You can share, you know, and you'll also catch us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you want to hear all the other episodes that are on there for anybody watching on YouTube. Another thing is, I have to say we are not sponsored by Applebee's either. But we could be sponsored by someone listening. So if you're out there and you want to like support the cause, this is we're not doing this we're just doing this for fun. So again, shout out to Kevin Flavin for the mic donation. He donated this awesome
Let's go.
mic, like a
My
boss.
first friend in Houston, Texas.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a stud. He's a stud. And then yeah, any announcements? Who we got coming up? Nick, that
So
we
we've
can
got
get excited for.
in the pipelines. We're working out some timing on when guests are going to be showing up after Sunday, which on that day at I think 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, we've got Dylan Barr from Michigan, right?
Stud.
And he's just a firecracker. He's on fire, perhaps because his hair is ginger, right?
And his beard, dude. He's got a red beard.
Oh, yeah,
It's pretty
he's
gnarly. Yeah.
got it going. And so that'll surely be an amazing episode. And, you know, we're getting people like Will Metcher and Andy Laws into the mix, and some other people that we've been talking to, John Thomas, Amber Thomas, right?
Mhm.
Trying to get them on a podcast.
Pete Burgess is in the pipeline too, I think.
Let's go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if
Sunday-
you're listening, oh, sorry, go ahead, Nick.
That's it. Sunday at 1, Dylan Barr. That's the next episode. And then we'll make announcements for others on our
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you know somebody that should be on here to come tell us some pony stories and share some good wisdom, please share this episode with them, share the podcast with them, and we'd love to get in touch. We've had a lot of people already that we did not know ask us to be on, and we'd love to just have meeting new alumni that way as well. Although of course it's always fun to hang out with old friends as well from the book field. So yeah, that is all we have for today. I'm signing out here. Any last minute things? Thank you guys so much for everything, and catch you in the next one.
Hey,
All
good luck
right.
Dylan, on the next call. Thank y'all for having us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
y'all.
Thank you. Bye.